So welcome to the first QI Navigator training. We're really excited to have everyone here. I'm Stacy Petty. I'm the Council Coordinator for the Rocky Mountain Early Childhood Council. And then we have both Linda and Connie from Clayton Early Learning, who are going to be doing an overview on the ERS tools in this session. So, any questions before we get going? Everybody feel like they're in the right place? Okay, so we're going to talk about the basics of a coaching detail, some examples and non-examples, and then we're going to practice a little bit. We found over the last year and a half or so that we're continuing to have coaches struggle with how to record coaching details and do them well, or they're not sure what's required and what isn't, and all of these things. So, and you will find that when you get your flash drives at the end of the day, that it will have this PowerPoint on it. So don't worry about that. And does everyone, I think we had handouts. Let me see. I have the handouts. Oh, wait, these are learning styles.
Are you guys passing the sign-in sheet?
Yes,
Yes, it's going around. Rick, did we have handouts of this,
it's on the purple clipboard.
this session? I only have the learning styles for my later session. That's what these are. Unless,
Do you have the other folder?
I bet Sharon or Lisa has it. I would say maybe Sharon
Is it in there?
ended up with it. We'll see if we can track those down for you. Okay, so,
Oh,
see if
it's here.
oh, Rick,
Sorry.
we got it.
We'll pass it on.
Yay! Let's see. Is this little thing gonna work? Okay, so first of all, these are all screenshots out of Sugar. And here we go. So what do I do first? First, you click on Coaching Details. If it doesn't show on your bar here, you're going to have to click on this little down arrow in order to find Coaching Details. And you're going to click on that, and then you're going to click on this blue Create button to create a new coaching detail. And make sure if you have questions at any time, please let me know. So then the next thing, and this is where I think some people have struggled because they're not sure what's required and what isn't. So you're going to want to enter the program name, and you're going to also want to make sure as we go through, you're going to get used to these program abbreviations, that each program should have its own abbreviation. If you're choosing a specific classroom, you're going to have this option right here where it says Scope. You can choose full program, or you can choose specific classroom. Is it just for the infant room, for the toddler room, for the pre-K room? If it's for the full program, all you have to do is indicate that, and that's all you have to do. The only time you have to put classroom here is if it's for one specific classroom, in which case you'll actually choose from the drop-down menu the classroom that it goes towards, and that information is pulled out of Colorado Shines. All the classrooms and the sessions that programs create, that's where that information comes through. So if you choose full program, that's all you have to do. If you choose specific classroom, you'll have to indicate that here. Next, really very important thing to remember is that this little BCK right here matches this little program abbreviation over here. It happens very easily where you end up choosing a program on a drop-down list that's one above or one below that one, and now you're connecting it to the wrong program. So it's always good to pay attention that that is there and that they're choosing the right thing. Are they choosing external coaching or internal coaching if you have internal coaches? Or are they trying to connect it to quality improvement dollars, in which case you're going to get an error that you're connecting it to something that it can't connect to. So make sure in a coaching detail it should be connected to that program's coaching requisition. The last thing on this slide that's important to notice is the status. When you complete a coaching detail, it's very important that it says complete and reconciled. Because when council coordinators have to run their coaching reports for billing, it will only pull up the things that are complete and reconciled. And basically what that means is you went to this program, you performed this service, you did this coaching, and it's done. And so make sure when you do that, that you're marking complete and reconciled, that it's all finished. Okay? Any questions about this slide and what it contains? Everybody good so far? Perfect. Okay, so as we scroll down that page of a coaching detail, this is the next part down from there. So start and end dates. Make sure they match up. We often see we'll have a coaching detail that lasted 57 hours because it got marked from 8:13 to 8:17 or so, so make sure that the start and end dates are correct and that the times are correct. This says 1 p.m., this says 3:30 p.m. We've seen them where it says 1 p.m. and 3:30 a.m. and suddenly you've met for a negative 22 hours, so make sure those things match as well. Realize that prep and follow-up time, which is set up to be automatic, that it adds 0.25 hours automatically for prep and follow-up time, and so that will add to the coaching detail on the whole. So if the total you want is 2.5 hours from 1 to 3:30, you need to either make sure this says 0, or you need to adjust the start and end time so that that plus the prep time equals the right amount of time. That's the other thing we've seen, is somebody will enter a coaching detail for 2 hours, and it'll actually end up saying 2.25 hours, and it's because it's added the prep time on there. So you need to make sure to realize that all of those things adding together equal the total amount of hours being deducted from a program. Does that make sense to everybody? Yes? Okay.
Will it let you do 0? I tried to do 0 one time and it wouldn't let me. And you have to put something in there.
Okay, so I believe we've recorded 0, but if it won't let you, just deduct it and make sure it adds up properly. Because they certainly have made a phone call or set up an appointment or something like that, and that should be part of that coaching detail as well. All of these things that are circled in yellow are all required fields, something that you have to put information into. Okay? Whereas these, they automatically show up. Can anybody tell me where the contracted rate comes from? Do you know, those of you who work on the administrative side, anybody work on the funding stream side in there? You have to input the coaching rate. And that's where that pulls from. This isn't something you can input. So that pulls from a different place in Sugar. So that will pull that up for you, and it will calculate the total cost based on those hours that are input there. In this case, $50 an hour, 4 hours total, and you can see the total billable hours right here. Okay, last thing on this slide worth really looking at is this description. In this case, they worked on the parent handbook. These are all actual coaching details from our council as well, just so you know. We often find that the entry says coaching or ERS or something where we have to go back to the coach and say, okay, what do you mean by coaching? There has to be enough description in there so that we can understand what you were actually doing, because they are pulling reports at the end of every month that the state is looking at, and the state is coming back saying, we don't know what this is. And so there has to be enough detail. It doesn't have to be an essay. There has to be enough detail so we know what you were doing. You know, are you doing a Colorado Shines overview? Are you working on a parent handbook? Are you going over their ERS results, their ERS results with the classroom and developing a quality improvement plan? Just give us a little more detail so we know what's going on. Angie?
Does it have to be very detailed there, or can you say, see attached notes, and that's where you find the detail?
What we found is that we have to put at least a few sentences in there, like you don't have to say, here are all their ERS scores, because that is in other places, like you're saying, but at least like we discussed the results of the ERS and their scores and helped them develop a QIP.
Okay.
That would be beautiful.
Okay.
Anybody else have questions about that description? Okay.
Can I mention something?
Yes?
I want to go back on that. I can't read very well. See, it says provider next steps.
Yes.
Yeah, and that appears, the provider can see that when they're on EC Connect. So that's a helpful hint for them, for the
Okay.
provider. So I think that's a fairly important deal too.
Absolutely. So provider next steps currently is not something that's required if you don't put anything in there. And when you save it, it's going to let you save it. But the provider does see this in EC Connect, and it does help the coach hopefully know, like, and next time we meet, here's what we're going to discuss. So again, this said email handbook and check with licensing, and I'm sure it had a little bit more that our little bubble is over there. But again, just like a little short description about next steps you're taking with the provider. More information in this regard is always a good one. Okay. All right, as we continue to scroll down that coaching detail, here's the next part, which is assessments and observations. You have to select something in the assessments field, and one of the choices is not applicable, bless you. Because you could be obviously meeting with a program, but you aren't actually doing an assessment for that meeting. So if you haven't done an assessment, or this is not applicable, make sure you mark it not applicable, and make one of the other choices if you are working on assessments there. And then down below under observations, this is where you can record your ERS scores. Again, not required, but if you're doing assessments, if you are doing those things, you really need to be recording your ERS scores for that program, which should then also connect to your QIP for that program. Perfect. Everybody feeling good so far? Yes, yes? Okay. Okay, as we continue on down, you want to make sure you have the assigned coach. As most of you, I think you know, that the coach is going to be the one who can get in and see these things as well for this program. For us, we have 4 counties, so we have 10 coaches in 4 counties. So we found that it's very important to have the correct coach listed so that they're able to see the information on these screens as well. And then make sure you click save. And so up here, once you have a coaching detail up here at the top, it says edit initially, and once you've entered information, it'll say save. So always important to click save. Everybody good so far? Good, good? Yay! Okay, here's some examples of what to do. Okay, so in this first one, you can see that we have honey tree. we have their program abbreviation, and we have over here, it says HT1, the same as their program abbreviation, external coaching, and it's in the race to the top requisition. And so we want to verify that that is the funding stream, it is a coaching detail, and it is for Honeytree. Next, that the start and the end date are correct with the times, and that the total billable hours is 2 hours. And see, to your question, it has 0 for prep and follow-up. Okay, so making sure those things all match and that they match what is ever on the coaching log. If the coaching log says 2 hours, this coaching detail should say 2 hours, not 2.5 hours or 2 hours and 25, 2 hours and 15 minutes. Make sure it all matches up for our billing, billing purposes. Okay, and that just connects that even further. This one has prep and follow-up time, and just understanding start and end date plus follow-up time equals 4 hours on this detail. And lastly, that the coaching description has enough detail so that we understand what was going on during that coaching session. Okay, everybody feeling good with that? We're going to break up into some groups and practice. Oh, I moved them up here. So, I've got some examples that are non-examples. There's something, at least one thing wrong with every single one. And so, I have you work probably 5 or even 6 to a group. You guys can break up however you like. Sound good? Okay. So you want to find some folks to work with? Karina? So you want to go backwards that way? I know. Here you guys go. Okay. Are you going to work with them, or should these guys? Want to do that? Sure. There you go. Anybody not have a handout? Which one do you have, Sharon? Number 3? Here's another one, so you can have a couple to look at. You guys need one? Are you working all together? Gotcha. Okay. You're an audio. Absolutely. Give you a second. Yeah, I'm thinking so you have more than one to do that.